You're listening to the Reinvest Podcast, where each Tuesday we show business owners and entrepreneurs how to diversify into real estate by equipping you with the tools and tactics to build generational wealth. Your hosts, Garrett Gatton and Seth Ciminillo. Hey guys, we are in the studio here today, excited to bring a quick and hard-hitting episode that I think will be a great addition to your investing tool belt. And it's how to be able to make offers with speed and confidence.
Speed's the name of the game. Especially in this market, there's low inventory and a good deal comes on the market. I mean, you got 12 to 24 hours maybe to get in there and actually throw out an educated offer. It just seems like with spring too, with the spring market, people have just been out and about.
Yeah. And we're not just talking about on-market scenarios. These are off-market scenarios as well. You got to be ready to move quick. One of the factors as to what's created this outside of the low inventory situation is technology.
Yeah.
You know, sellers have more data at their fingertips, which what does that mean? It means that they have more pricing information and they have more ways to connect with an end user than before. So it's massively important to be able to move quickly. Just on the speed side of things, seasoned investors, what have you observed in their ability just to move quickly?
I mean, we work with investors all the time who look at a property and can offer within hours. I mean, pretty common. So, I think once you get those reps in and you know what you're looking for, you know when you're going to a house, what are the big items that you need to see? What are the big questions you need answered? And then, on the back end, they already have the market data of the area they're looking at. So, I think you go there, take a look around, a few hours, maybe make a couple of calls, and
they're ready to go.
Most people are ready to go.
And there's a difference between making a hasty offer and making a quick offer with confidence, right? Anybody can throw out a hasty offer just because you feel like you're going to miss out on an opportunity, but you don't really know, like, man, did I overprice it? Did I structure it right? Do I really know what my business plan is going to be for this property? Or I just feel a sense of urgency. That's different than being able to look at a property and make a really quick, educated decision. And there's a formula for this. There's a way to be able to replicate this process, throw out lots of offers quickly, and feel confident that you're not going to lose your shirt on them.
And before we get into the meat and potatoes, this episode's actually formatted a little bit different. We're going to try out some quicker episodes here in the coming weeks and maybe months, depending on if people like them. So we're kind of shooting to do these episodes in 20 minutes and just get some quick, practical stuff at you guys to implement in your real estate business. And so this is kind of why we're here in the studio doing a one-to-one rather than bringing in a guest for this one.
If you guys have suggestions on topics you want us to cover, reach out via LinkedIn, text us, we're on Facebook. Find us somehow, some way, and throw your hat in the ring.
Leave a comment. I don't know.
All right, so number one is for this formula of how to make quick offers confidently is familiarize yourself with your market. Anything you want to kick us off with on this one?
If you asked me to put an offer in anywhere else outside of like our Allen County, Auglaize County areas, I would just be so lost. I could be looking at a house and it could be worth $100,000 or it could be worth $500,000. I really don't have a barometer unless I really start to dig into past sales in the area, start networking with other investors or agents in the area, and start asking questions. And sure, you can do that. But the point is, if you're trying to be quick, that stuff has to be figured out on the front end.
Yeah. And you have your greatest competitive advantage in your backyard because you know and you're familiar with the market. Anybody who's doing out-of-state investing, they don't just randomly jump around to all these different areas. Usually, they're going to identify 3 markets that they're going to look at. They spend lots of time diligently researching the data, the neighborhoods, the areas they're buying in, and the asset they're going to purchase before they begin going into the buy mode. This is how people do it when they're replicating this out-of-state model. So you need to familiarize yourself with that. What's the data that somebody would want to keep track of in a specific market?
Days on market, depending on, what your plan is with the property. So, days on market's a big one for the asset type, the price that you're looking at. average price per square foot for remodeled stuff, and average price per square foot for kind of the as is down and dirty investor stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. What do you got?
So another one would be ARV. What if I do X, Y, and Z to this property? What are properties like this selling for that are remodeled? That's
and a lot of that,
back in.
And a lot of that comes with doing reps. I mean, you're not going to know that some of the ARV stuff on the back of your, just from your head. I mean, you're going to look at it, but you'll know where to look. You'll know how to pull the comps. You'll know what's an actual comparable, and that's done by putting in the repetition. Or maybe it's working with your agent and asking your agent, hey, agent, like what is the ARV? What are the comps for this area?
And it's repetition isn't just you being the one to buy a house and do the plan yourself, but it could be repetition of evaluating properties that you've kept your eye on. One of the things I had here is if you identify a property that maybe you don't end up offering on, don't forget that property. Come back later and see what happened with it. What did it close for if it was under contract at the time that you saw it? What did somebody do with that property? Did you see it sell again by a flipper, to get a benchmark of what's happening in this area?
And we do that all the time. And sometimes we
Yeah.
look back at some of these properties that we had clients offer on or that we offered on ourselves, and we see what it closed for, and we're like, oh my gosh, I cannot believe someone was willing to pay that. But what it does is it really tells you where the market's at, how hungry the market is for some of these deals. And then it gives us more information to coach ourselves or our clients in the future.
If you want to familiarize yourself with your market and get really good at this, you by nature have to be a curious person. You just have the best people at this. They kind of nerd out over real estate. And they're like, man, I wonder what happened with that. I'm going to go back and look at it. And you're building this mental model of that marketplace. And that is going to give you a lot of confidence then when you see a deal hit, because you're going to be like, ooh, I've seen stuff sell and this is underpriced. I need to jump on this. Number 2, this is kind of crazy to say, but be able to offer on a property after one walkthrough. How in the world would that be possible?
It sounds really scary at first, especially if you're out there and you've never even bought a deal. Maybe you've bought a personal home, but still the thought of buying an investment property or a flip after one walkthrough probably sounds stupid. It could be if you're not careful. But I think, again, it goes back to some of the reps and knowing what to look for. Mm-hmm. A septic's a pretty big deal. If you're looking at a property with a septic, you better, during your walkthrough, take a look and try to find out some information on that, because that could be the difference of a $30,000 expense.
So one of the things that Seth and I do when we're working with clients is when we're doing a walkthrough, this is a little pro tip for how to identify a good agent. If there's an accessible attic or a crawl space, you better believe we're looking in there. You don't just look at the veneer of it, because when I'm walking through, you may only get one opportunity to walk through a property and make a decision based on that walkthrough.
Well, in a 2-minute look in the basement, crawl space, or attic space could save weeks of time. I mean, if there's a pretty latent issue in the crawl space, and I don't at least open that access and peek my head down there, and there turns out to be some significant flooding or issues or mold, and we had gone and put that property under contract. I mean, what a waste of our time.
Right.
Like, just for that to fall apart or us have to really seriously to renegotiate.
But what if somebody doesn't have the confidence to know what they're looking at? How could they walk through a property and be able to offer after one time?
I mean, if you know it's a property that's going to go quick, one of the things that you can do is build a relationship network with a general contractor or a handyman type person that knows enough to be dangerous and can walk through the property with you. And in doing that, if you can organize that on the front end, if you know this property is going to go fast, just get them there with you as you do your walkthrough, and they'll be that second pair of eyes that might be a little more educated than you are.
So just this is very practical and tactical. When you're going to do a walkthrough on a property that you think you might be offering on or need to be prepared to, bring a really good flashlight, bring clothes that you can get dirty in, bring an impact in case there's like a crawl space access that's screwed shut and you need to kind of like, undo a screw or something like that. Bring tools that are going to essentially allow you to do kind of a quasi inspection. And you're not just inspecting the property, you're also walking through with a business plan. I'm walking through and I'm saying, okay, those appliances are good enough to keep. I'm going to have to, repair the floor in this room. I think we can salvage these light fixtures. And so then by the end of it, not only did I say what was the condition of the property, but what are the things I think I would need to spend money on in order to execute that. So you're doing two at the same time. Number 3. Hit us with number 3.
Developing a preferred lender partnership. And this is key with the speed thing. So, I mean, like if you're trying to be fast or make your offer attractive, you can't be twiddling your thumbs about figuring out how you're going to buy this thing. All that kind of stuff needs to be prepped and figured out on the front end. So that way, when an opportunity comes your way, you can move.
Mm-hmm. Part of this is working with a lender that you understand the loan products that you're going to be using. Even if they're not giving you a loan estimate every time for each property, you have an understanding of what those are. For example, I know certain banks locally are going to do a commercial loan. They're 20% down, and they'll do a 10-year fixed option with a 5-arm. So I know that, and so I can model my deals according to that loan product. But additionally, sometimes you do need a fresh loan quote from somebody. So it's working with a lender that you have a relationship with. They understand what you're trying to achieve with the property, and then they can give you some updated data to plug in interest rates and down payment requirements, all that kind of stuff.
Well, and depending on your strategy, maybe it's working with a private money lender, maybe it's working with a hard money lender, whatever those things are, whatever kind of lender, however you're buying the deal, figuring that out on the front end, building those relationships on the front end. It's going to be really clunky if you just try to throw it all together.
If you're going to be buying a property cash, make sure that you have some kind of a bank line of credit statement or a proof of funds on hand. I've seen this happen a lot. Banks close on Friday between 4 and 5 o'clock.
And they're not opening up for anybody. You're not getting anything until Monday morning.
And if you have a deal that you're trying to jump on over the weekend and someone says, great, are you legit? Show me a proof of funds. And you say, I'll get it to you Monday, gone. So you need to have something on file. Even if it's an old one, you can say, hey, I'll get an updated one to you, but here is something I keep on hand to let you know that I do have the funds if you're buying cash. So that's kind of a little quick hack there. Number 4, use the same contract each time. This is a biggie because you need to feel comfortable with how your contract is written. This could be your realtor's contract, and you guys have offered on enough properties and you have enough trust in your real estate agent that he understands, she understands, and you understand the contract. Or it's maybe one that you have that you're familiar with. When you're working through an under contract scenario, there's timelines, there's triggers, there's contingencies, and sometimes you can get intimidated if you're recreating the wheel or you're unfamiliar with how that contract functions. You might be committing to something that you don't understand, and therefore your confidence level is going to be less, and you're going to shy away. You're going to pull punches. So those 4, just to recap, familiarize yourself with your market, be able to offer after one walkthrough, develop a preferred lender partnership so you can get that quick financing information and use the same contract each time. You add all these together, you have yourself a formula to be able to make offers with speed and confidence. I've seen multiple seasoned investors get deals just because they move quicker than everybody else and they make it as simple as possible.
And I've even seen that, even for my own portfolio. I mean, I've gone and looked at deals several times where it's the first time I went to the property, I just knew it fit my buy box. You know what I mean? I already knew it was the area I wanted to buy in. It was the type of property, and by the time I saw it, it had the work tolerance that I felt comfortable with. And so I was able to offer the first time, walking through it. First day it was on market or whatever it was. And it really has been a benefit. If you sit around and think for 2 or 3 days, that property's probably already going to be gone. So,
yeah. One of the things we're going to do on these short episodes is a quote of the week. So I did not actually know that this quote originated with Teddy Roosevelt. But if you didn't know, he's one of my favorite presidents of all time. He was just a man, like just a man's man, but he was a family guy. He was like tough and tender, got perfect mixture.
And I loved him in Night at the Museum.
So he was the one that coined the phrase, do what you can with what you have where you are. And I'll just kick us off on this one. I love this quote. We've heard it a lot before in different ways. Again, I didn't know that he coined this. Here's why this is so powerful. We spend too much time focusing on what we can't control versus what we can control. We're inundated all the time with YouTube educational pieces, someone else's success being flaunted around in our face, and it's a reminder of where we're not. And a lot of the time, we can't even control a lot of the factors that we are trying to compare ourselves to. So you got to do what you can with what you have where you are. I don't know if you have anything to add on that.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just sound advice from the standpoint of we can get caught up in comparing ourselves with Joe Schmo, or we wish we had what they have, or I wish I bought that property, or I wish I could, have this contracting crew. Whatever those things are, that's distraction. I mean, that's not going to get you with where you want to go long term. So if you can put the blinders on and keep your head down and be consistent in what you have.
Yeah.
And work your plan out with the resources that you have. I mean, that's how you're going to go to the distance. Everything else is going to detract and distract from where you're trying to get.
Awesome. Well, hey, I hope this has been of value to you guys so that you can win more deals in 2025 by adding these formulas to your offer strategy. As always, excited that you joined us for another episode of the Reinvest Podcast. If you want to learn how you can use your hard-earned capital to diversify into real estate, go to our website, reinvestcapital.us, and shoot us a message. Move farther, reach higher, and grow deeper.